There's some things cruise lines don't want to talk about too much because it may turn off people from cruising in 2021. Look, we don't want to put you off, but we want to be truthful and realistic, so we're talking about 8 things we think you should be aware of if you consider a cruise in 2021.
Well, ahoy there, cruisers! Welcome to this video. Before we begin, please make sure that you do subscribe. It is completely free to subscribe and it really supports our channels.
Number 1, a reduced product on board. There's going to be cuts on all cruise lines. This is just to make back some of the huge losses all of the cruise lines have incurred over the last year. We've had lots of ship entertainers contact us on our social media, musicians and comedians, just saying that they are not being hired at the moment. So we're probably going to expect to see less live music on board and maybe even less crew as well, because there's going to be reduced capacities on ships. And we don't expect to see the same level of amazing customer service that you will normally expect. Crew are going to be doing so much more, keeping the ship super clean and making all of the protocols that are met. So the customer service may suffer a little bit as well. Plus, the more intimate service is not going to be the same, with social distancing, everybody wearing a mask so you can't see those facial expressions. So it's not going to be quite the same. And could the quality of food be reduced as well, and even the quantity? We expect some corners to be cut all around the different areas, but we're just going to have to wait and see. We actually have 7 cruises booked this summer, so make sure you're subscribing so you can actually come on board with us and see what cruising is actually like.
Number 2 is cruising is going to be very different in 2021. There are some things that may impact your cruise this year, probably for the negative, unfortunately.
So we were just having a little walk, our daily walk during lockdown, and we were thinking we're going to be going back away on cruises soon, places like France and Spain, where they speak different languages, and you know how bad we are at speaking different languages. So it's a great time to talk about our sponsor today, Babbel. Babbel is the #1 language learning app in the whole wide world with over 10 million subscribers. Let me just show you why we love it so much. It's because it teaches you the things that you need to know rather than the things that are nice to know. So everyday language, so ordering a beer, asking for directions back to the cruise ship, that sort of thing. It's really great.
It's super easy to learn with Babbel. You can learn on the go, anywhere, in your own time. Even on your daily walk, you can grab a bench and start learning your new language. It also has over 150 real language teachers creating these courses. Unlike other language learning apps that use AI technology and algorithms, Babbel doesn't do that.
And now with Babbel Live, you can add live classes to your existing subscription for an additional fee, or just subscribe to them as a standalone product. And because we're working with Babbel, we've got a fantastic deal for you. If you click in the description section below, you'll buy 6 months and Babbel will give you 6 months for completely free. Now, who doesn't love a freebie? Right, I'm gonna go and learn some French. Au revoir.
Wearing masks is one of them. This is a pain because you've got to wear them indoors at all times, only taking them off whilst eating and drinking. Some lines like Royal Caribbean require masks to be worn outside too, even when on a sun lounger. Could you imagine how sweaty and hot you're going to be during the summer months, especially in the Caribbean? Again, we recommend a balcony cabin, as masks are not required in your cabin and you can enjoy the lovely sunshine and the fresh air without wearing a mask on your balcony. There's going to be social distancing on board too. You won't be able to mix with other parties. This is especially bad if you're travelling as a solo traveller and you like to get to know your fellow travellers while cruising. But the capacity of the ships will be reduced. And this is a pro because the ships will seem quieter and a lot more relaxed. No more long lines or crowds. So every cloud has a silver lining. And we know when you're on holiday, you want to get away from your phone, but it sounds like you're going to be using your phone a lot too when cruising returns. You'll be using your phone to book shows, meals, dining, ordering drinks, and even the muster drill. So again, this means there's going to be less interaction with the crew, which is really unfortunate if you're the type of person who really likes to get to know the crew on board. And also, you're just missing out on that interaction with the crew, who are always amazing. We already know there's going to be more uncomfortable COVID tests, and most cruise lines are requiring the vaccine to cruise. You'll have to have your temperature taken daily, and the boarding process will involve a health screening too. We are totally happy though with all of these things because we love cruise so much, and we know that they're doing this to keep us all safe and healthy. But we want to make you aware that in 2021, cruising will be different.
Number 3, your cruise could be cancelled even at the last minute. There is so much change at the moment all around the world. As you know, cruises have been cancelled for the last year, again, some at the last minute. Governments are changing minds and travel rules every single second. It depends on all of the different levels of COVID in all of the different countries. Our country, for example, has a traffic light system, so it's green for go, orange for maybe you can't go, and if it's red and cases are bad, you're not allowed to go anywhere. So that could affect cruises. And if there's been a case of COVID on the last cruise before yours, it might mean your one is going to be impacted. And it's not just the cruise either, it's things like flights too. If you're flying to a port, keep a close eye on your flights. Many flights are being changed or merged together. So just instead of doing 3 flights a day, they'll just put everybody onto the one flight. So it's worth logging onto your airline's website and just keep checking to make sure that nothing's going to change. Most airlines allow you to put a telephone number or a mobile number on there just so you can be given a notification if anything changes. We definitely recommend that. And give yourself plenty of time to get to the port. We strongly recommend flying the day before if possible, if you are flying. For example, when we fly to Nassau in Bahamas in June, yay, we are so excited for our Adventure of the Seas cruise. We're flying a whole day in advance, just in case anything goes wrong. Again, when we're going to be cruising from Southampton, we will go the night before and stay in a hotel, just so nothing can stop us from getting on that damn cruise. Now, this isn't to scare you, and it's going to be very unlikely that your cruise is going to be cancelled, but you just need to keep these things in mind and be prepared for things to change, because when they do change, you're not going to be as disappointed, and you can always book onto the next cruise. Cruise lines have been super flexible, so if your cruise is cancelled, you'll be given a full refund, or you can take future cruise credit with some extra benefits. So don't worry too much.
Okay, number 4 is all about the cost of cruising. We've mentioned this before, but cruising in 2021 is going to be more expensive. We are already seeing some increases in the price of cruising, around 25 to 100% more in some cases. That is almost double. We're comparing these cruises to the cruises we booked in 2019, and there is definitely a significant increase in the price. We can see more bargains, however, for later in 2021, and a few of you, our wonderful viewers, have said that you got some great prices in 2022 as well. So if you are looking for a bargain, make sure you look at cruises later in the year on into next year.
But if you want a top tip, all we can say is that we've seen some bargains with Norwegian Cruise Line. We're not affiliated by them at all, but we've seen some really cheap cruises compared to other lines. We have to say some lines, we're not going to name them, but they rhyme with Celebrity Cruises. Oh my gosh, incredibly expensive. 1 week cruises for £3,000 for 2 of us. Absolutely crazy, bearing in mind that cruise goes to nowhere. So you've got to look around.
Absolutely, and a lot of you commented on our last video when we talked about this, saying that it is the supply demand, and you're correct. When things do open up, when things do get more back to normal and more cruise ships start cruising again, that price will come down. But the initial first cruises that are starting to sail are very expensive.
So number 5 is your cruise could end abruptly or early. If COVID hits the ship, that's probably it. Your cruise will probably be over. It's just something we're going to all have to accept, at least at first. Passengers will probably be sent to quarantine in cabins, and the ship will most likely return to port. Best case possible is that once the person is tested, it comes back negative and the quarantine is lifted, and the cruise will probably resume as normal. Worst case is that a test comes back positive and the cruise ends abruptly. If this happens, expect some type of compensation from the cruise line, like a partial or full refund, or even a credit to use on a new cruise. Cruise lines want you to be happy, and in return, they will give you something that goes wrong. So make sure you do get money back if your cruise ends early. We've had to fight with a certain cruise line with a cruise that we had last year that ended halfway through, and we had to really fight to get our money back because we only had half a cruise, but we did in the end. So make sure you do too. And be very confident that the care on board will be fantastic. There's highly trained doctors and medical staff, the latest technology, basically a hospital on board, and all of the treatments that you would need if something bad were to happen. No other form of vacation can offer anything like that, so you are in super good hands.
Number 6 is another change that could happen to your cruise, and this time it's the port you visit. The ports could change at the last minute while you're on your cruise. This is possibly because governments around the world are changing their local laws and regulations every single day. It will depend on the local levels of infection numbers and control. If local hospitals are full, they don't want big cruise ships visiting. We don't think it'll happen very often as ports are desperate for business, but don't be surprised if there is changes to your itinerary. I don't think most of us would care anyway. I think most of us are just happy to go anywhere and be on the ship. As far as we're concerned, change it as much as you want because we will still be sailing.
Number 7, insurance is going to be slightly more expensive. Not too expensive though. We have looked around and saw some deals that aren't too bad, but there is a little bit of a price increase, $20, $30. £20 or so.
Yeah.
But this is something to definitely keep in mind. But most importantly, you need to make sure you have the right cover for your cruise. Most cruise lines now are actually requiring proof of the correct COVID-19 inclusive insurance when boarding. So they might even want to take a look at your insurance premium as you're boarding. But make sure your insurance covers you for both cruise, the correct area of the world that you're traveling in, including all of the different ports. You might go into a different area. Make sure you have COVID-19 cancellation cover, as well as COVID healthcare protection and repatriation, just in case they need to fly you out. You really do need to be looking at that small print, or just give the insurance company a call to make sure that you are covered. Some cruise lines, for example, are requiring a minimum of £5 million or dollars health protection with COVID as a minimum. So if you do anything right, it's really important you do this right, because you could be denied boarding, or even worse, you won't be able to afford the healthcare, and it's very expensive if you're not correctly covered, so it could end up costing you millions. Just get that one right, please.
This last one is to bear in mind everything we have said, but still try to enjoy your cruise. It will be much better than just sitting at home. There will be lots of things to enjoy on board too. The crew will be ecstatic to be back, and so will your fellow cruisers. So there'll be a very positive and electric atmosphere on board. Plus, like we mentioned earlier, the ships will have vastly reduced capacities, which means that it'll be much less busy. Always try to look at every situation with a glass half full attitude. That's exactly what we're going to be doing, isn't it?
I feel like a shrink. Always look on the bright side of life.
Here's our preachy speechy.
But remember, all of this is only temporary. By booking a cruise, you are still supporting the industry we all love, as well as helping the crew, many of them who haven't worked for years, and this will enable them to provide and send money back home to their families. We just want you to be aware of all of the negatives and the positives. We want to bring you things that matter, not just all of the good things, but we need to tell you about the bad things as well. We just want to be open and truthful here.
And if this doesn't sound like your type of vacation, that's fair enough. That's your opinion. Just maybe book a cruise in next year when things start to relax a little bit and things start to get a little bit more back to normal.
Thank you so much for watching this episode. We really appreciate you watching us. We can't say thank you enough. Please make sure you're subscribed if you're not. 77% of people who watch our channel are not subscribed. What are you waiting for? And thank you so much to all of our patrons as well. We thank you so much. We're going to be giving you a live show this week, an exclusive live show with you on Zoom, as well as extra behind the scenes footage and videos, as well as postcards whilst we're away. Our captain of the week is Alex Trickett. So
Ahoy.
Thank you very much, Alex. That's it till next time.
Happy cruising!